Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. Welcome to another live stream, number 37. The numbers are getting higher and higher. There's a couple of things on the agenda for tonight. I'm going to be doing some pixel art in Sprite, working on the some of the finale bits and pieces, being really careful not to produce any spoilers. So that'll be happening. I've also got some other bits of finale graphics to do, and I've tried to kind of put placeholder stuff in there again so there aren't any spoilers with that. As I've said on quite a few of the streams, getting quite close to getting most of the assets complete. So as I go through testing and doing last tweaks, I'm just being conscious not to put any massive story spoilers. It is, if you haven't tuned into other to other live streams, it is now wishlistable, if that's a verb, on Steam. So you can now go to the Steam page, which is there and live, where the trailer is, and you can wishlist it, and please do, because that is a big part of this channel. Is we've gone from coming up with an idea for a game and having nothing apart from a little pencil sketch and a daft idea, and getting to this point where it is now nearing completion. Still don't have a release date yet, and that's just because I haven't really done enough testing. Thank you very much to some members of the community who've been on quite a few of the live streams who have offered to do some beta testing. So as soon as I can get a beta build that I'm happy is relatively bug-free, enough that you can play through the whole game and it makes sense and the story makes sense and everything, then yeah, that will kind of go out onto Steam, and I will dish that out to the people who've asked for that. Along with a big testing sheet as well. So it's not all fun and games. It is really, really helpful, first of all. But yeah, there's quite a bit to do in beta testing something like this, especially when there's so many different puzzles and permutations of things that, yeah, you'd be doing me a huge favour trying to find out where the bugs are, where things stop working, or where I've written a bit of dialogue that doesn't make any sense because you haven't done something before it. That's, I guess, one of the biggest challenges of writing these particular types of games, is a lot of the time you're not entirely sure which way around a player's gonna do the particular puzzles. So it kind of leaves you, if you're trying to write a narrative, sometimes a little bit stuck. So coming back to my original kind of flow charts of the puzzle dependency and the kind of going through the general story in each act, a lot of these have multiple branches where you're not totally sure which part someone's going to do first. So say you need to combine a couple of different items, which is actually something you regularly do in point and click adventure games. It could be that they pick up one item before the other, they don't know about another thing, so I write lines of dialogue with a load of if statements or pop-up statements to check whether they've seen this or they know about that, and in which case say this dialogue, or in the other case say the other dialogue. Good evening, Mike. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for coming along. I was in a roundabout way, just talking about you. Just anyone who's offered to do beta testing, that is fantastic, really, really helpful, because I am getting to the point now where I'm going to have to start doing that. I still haven't got an absolute end-to-end build with all of the graphics in, and tonight, without any spoilers, the plan is to work on some of those graphics. As I mentioned on the previous stream, I've just started a new job, so I've had a lot less time this week to do anything. The previous month or two, I've done an awful lot on the game whilst I was searching for a new job. Now I've got one, it's back to evenings and weekends, and things are going to slope a little bit. But that was the original plan here anyway. I hadn't planned to be made redundant last year, or earlier this year. So this had always been an evening and weekend thing. It was kind of to prove that it is possible to make a game of this kind of scope and scale on evenings and weekends, as not as a full-time job. but it has, as they always do, grown arms and legs, because I think this was the original plan of how many rooms were going to be in it. Quite a small, compact game. I would say that's probably doubled in terms of maybe not completely new locations as such, but completely new screens, especially with some of the first person stuff when you're looking at the PC, or you're in the bins, or you're in the car boot, and some of these views that I just hadn't anticipated, but have been really helpful in fleshing out a lot of the puzzles. So yeah, it's grown arms and legs, but we're getting to a point where I should soon be able to do a complete playthrough, and then start testing that with people where they're actually fully getting to appreciate the story, the dialogue, the endings, and that I think I need that in place. I don't want to give people something to test that doesn't make sense as a game and a story anyway, because then in previous times when I've done that, then you get kind of a bit too much feedback about the story, or you don't get enough feedback about whether the ending's any good. So I want to kind of be able to collect all of that as well. So I am holding off sending out beta testing things until I'm happy that the whole thing can be fully played through, and that the save system works well, so that if you do come across a bug whilst testing it, which you almost certainly will, that it doesn't then stop you playing at all after you've hit that bug. It's really annoying to have to go right the way back to the start of the game, as you can appreciate, and play through loads of stuff you've already played through. So when I do hand out beta keys, the idea will be that there'll be some recommendations of where to save. I might even throw some auto saves into those beta things. So if you do hit something, say like you're midway through a puzzle in like Act 2 and you hit something here that is effectively game breaking, and at the very least you kind of want to be going back to the start of Act 2. Like with a save, you don't want to be coming all the way back to the very start and having to work through all of these puzzles again. So again, beta test version needs to have a full load save or an auto save thing set up, and I've got that working. I'm just always a bit anxious about saving and loading, and whether that's saving some other bug that you've not noticed until later on. So I'm getting there. So it leaves us a couple of options for doing stuff this evening, wherever there is a finale screen, because we are working on finale stuff now. I've just tried to put placeholders in, or I will just limit what I'm telling the stream about what's going on in them. So this is our finale scene. There's nothing in it at the moment, but it's going to be pulling together kind of like a narrative for the end of the game, depending on a couple of the options that you've chosen. There are alternate endings. So one of the things that I need to do, you might remember if you've been on the stream before or watched any of the videos, this is like the opening scene or the opening backdrop. There's also like a tree and everything that kind of parallax scrolls in front of it at the very start of the game. You'll see that in the trailer on Steam. So at the end of the game, almost in like a full circle moment, we'll come back to this scene, but I want to come back to it from a different angle. And there's a couple of reasons for that, which I won't go into, but I think it's also nice as well to see that full circle moment. The game starts with the outside of the shop, and depending on some decisions you make, when it finishes with the outside of the shop, things could be different. And that's kind of what I want to do. So I'm basically going to be redrawing this from this angle. I started this last night. I was sat in the other room in front of the telly watching World Cup games. So I watched the Brazil game, which I think finished at about like 1 AM, something like that, UK time. Knowing fine well that the Scotland game was on at 2 AM, and I didn't expect to stay up to it, but I did in the end. and kind of half fell asleep on the sofa. But I'd been drawing this on my laptop. I just got it kind of blocked out. I wanted it from a lower front angle of the shop, so a bit flatter on. So yeah, I'm just going to be finishing off this using this angle as the reference, really, both for colours and also for shapes and layout and things. So I blocked out the main bits, the fence and the posters and the top of the shop and everything. So yeah, I'm going to crack on with that to begin with, and then I might, depending if I've got time. I drew this whilst I was watching the Scotland game. So this is the Geordie Times. So there's like a kind of summary bit at the end, and what I want is kind of a bit like Batman or Spider-Man when a newspaper spins onto the screen with a headline on it, and there'll be a photograph on it as well. Again, different depending on the endings. So I drew that last night in a Sprite with a nice little coffee stain on it, and bit of texture, so that's kind of set up ready with variants of that depending on what your choices are at the end of the game. So I've got that as a placeholder. I haven't really thought about how to do it yet. I know I'll do it as a piece of animation in Unity, but it's kind of spinning onto the screen, so I might do a bit of that if I get bored of redrawing this bit. So, oh, and there's one other thing. So there's kind of 3 bits to the finale that are all different depending on what you choose through the game. So they're kind of variants on the same scene. So there is one other scene which, let's have a look. If I go to my sprites, rooms, finale, so there's this, and here is an exclusive. Oh, it's going to look terrible on here because so there's this scene as well, which is again different depending on what you've chosen. So that I'm going to set up, and things will fade into that based on what you've chosen. There's a game, God, I've forgotten what it's called now. Oh, completely forgotten. But that's not a very good example, is it? There's a game that I've completely forgotten. Quite a few games do it where the game finishes and then you basically get a narrator that tells you what happened in the people's lives, and through little still like vignettes, little snapshots of how the world ended up after the things that happened in the story. So that's kind of what I'm doing with these last few screens. So I will crack on with this. The hope is that I get this kind of pulled together pretty quickly, because then I've got to do variants of each of these as well. So I started kind of lining this out last night and didn't get much further than the basics. So all I'm doing is sampling colours from the original one that was from a slightly different angle, just as all the starting colours, just so we get some consistency in the way that it looks. And of course all my usual foibles about, I usually draw things with lines first, meaning these brown lines around everything, they'll probably all need to be refilled in at some point. Right, so, and hopefully Stream's behaving itself this time, because I've had all kinds of problems the last couple of weeks with funny Stream issues. I've got it running on my phone down here so I can see if something goes wrong. Right, these are the posters, and the posters are going to be different again depending on the ending that you're watching. I have actually noticed this top bit sticks out, it doesn't stick in, so that needs changed as well. So delete that and extend this out so it's got an overhang. And I've purposefully done it with a bit of kind of flat perspective, and that's because the the variants are going to have different text on them, and it's very hard. Like you see with the original Floor for You thing, if I just hide the shoe and the tree, it was really hard on a diagonal to write that nicely. And it's just something you don't realise till later on. It's part of the like pixel art style, I suppose. But all of these like letterings are all just hand lettering. It does within Sprite have a text tool, which is kind of handy. So what I want to do with this one is actually use this text tool, where you can do everything you'd expect from a text tool and select the like actual font and things. Makes it a lot easier to get at least a basic font in, and then you can touch it up by hand once you've done that as pixel art. So yeah, that'll all get added later. Okay, so we want to get this just blocked in for now. And as always, you kind of wish you'd done these as blocks originally, but is always the issue. Just having to reline this stuff in the right colours, because the whole front of this is in shade. There's actually this shadow layer. If I click back on here, just slide that up a bit. It's really handy actually in Sprite. You can split the screen between two different things. So this shadow layer here, the kind of real colours are a bit lighter, but I'm just going to go with the darker palette, I think, for it. So I'm sampling it through that shadow, so I'm getting slightly darker versions of those colours, because that's kind of how you saw it at the start. Okay. And I haven't really yet thought about the time of day that this is being seen in, but so like light direction and things like that I haven't really thought about. But the sun was coming from this like left side before, and kind of left and behind, because you can see the shadow going off in that direction. So I'm going to kind of keep to that with a bit of brightness down the left hand side. Grab some of those brighter colours. Oh, that's handy. It is actually a different colour there, so let's, oops. Which means I can fill these. Of course, the fill goes everywhere that it can spill out of. Reminds me of, I don't know if anybody ever used Deluxe Paint on the Amiga. That was where my digital art journey began, and probably prior to this channel, kind of the last time that I really did like pixel art, which was a long time ago, and that was purely because pixels were the only things you had really back in the day. Sound like a pensioner now. Back in the day. But it definitely, Deluxe Paint completely inspired me as a youngster on the Amiga, making like 256 colour graphics with pixels. And then it was kind of seeing stuff like Monkey Island and just being absolutely amazed that those things had kind of been drawn in those kind of pieces of software. So I have got like a bit of a strange perspective thing going on here, because further away from the edges you've got slight splaying out of these lines. So kind of in the middle, like kind of the middle of the door-ish, I've got a straight line, and then they kind of head outwards slightly. But then not that far. Yeah, you can see. I struggled with this when I drew the lines originally. Last night I was going like, oh, how deep does the perspective need to be? I actually just got a cube, well, like a long cube. I can't think what it was called then. A long cube in SketchUp, and just positioned the camera down slightly lower so that I could get an idea of the perspective of that. So you're kind of looking up at the shop, at the name of the shop, and that is how I kind of chose that angle. It's kind of, there's a vanishing point a couple of miles in the sky, I'd imagine. But it's kind of helpful sometimes when you just can't decide on like how something should be, that I actually just throw it into SketchUp and do it in 3D and see how it looks. So that's going to be the fence. Not going to see the drain pipe because it's far around the corner. Probably a little bit of light along the top. So I'll continue that line across the top. But we don't want it down the side there. That's the dark side. Oops. Just using shift to lock these to straight lines. Could fill them, but means changing the tool. And I'll do all the shadows separately, I think. Kind of got used to doing that. These need a little bit of lightening up. Not that light. Not even that light. That light. So just going to put light on the top of them. Go to that colour and just touch it up a little bit. It's barely noticeable, but when you're up close there is a difference between them two. Oops. I'm just going to make that much smaller because it's right in my way. And then the bottom one beneath this is going to be darkest. There'll be pixel artists screaming at the screen saying me use the colour picker. Don't care. Basically. I did stick to just this palette, but as I say many times on the channel, I am no professional pixel artist. I sometimes want to just get the right shade for the particular mood I'm after, and I know that's kind of frowned upon in the community, but I'm just not that skilled, or not that disciplined, I think is the correct word, in sticking to the exact palette that I've got. Right, looking a bit better. Again, the background colour of these is probably going to be different depending on the ending, so I'll just put them in like a dark grey for now and then I can cover them over. Right, the doors have got quite a bit of different shades going on, so there's going to be some shadow under there anyway. It's just, when I put a single dot down like that, I'm just capping this strip so then I can use the fill tool, and it's no problem with these that are offset, but that would all flow into there otherwise. So I'm just using this to cap some of these. Oh, actually these are going to be darker. It's going to be darker. I might even go darker than that, to be honest, with the centre one, because it's kind of a join between the doors. See, that's what I mean by capping it so it doesn't flow out of that. It seems a bit bright that over there now, doesn't it? Let's tone it down a bit. So, yeah, all the mortar and all the other details and things I'll put on top as separate layers and fade them back. The kind of view into the shop as well. It's quite a time consuming. I added it quite late in the day. That it used to just be like reflective glass. And then once I knew exactly what the inside of the shop looks like, you've got this little red rug and the flooring pattern and things. You can even see the orange rugs that are for sale and things when you're the other side of the glass. So I added all that afterwards. Similarly, the sky and the trees, they all got added pretty late. And from this angle, we probably want some of that sky. So let me look at City Sky Layer 1 in the original. And we've got distant trees. So if we take all of those layers, copy them, come over to this one, create a new layer, drag it to the bottom and paste them all into that. Distant trees, city sky. It didn't paste them where I wanted them. Paste them in front of everything. So that's confusing, but what we can do is these trees here. Let's just might cut some chunks out of these just to provide us some backing. I mean, because there's no point redrawing these kind of things. So if I just hide the main thing here. What I'm going to do is grab this section that's all hidden behind the building. Copy that out of there. Oops, wrong button. Copy that out there. Paste it. I think on every stream this happens. I do not understand how it works in Airspray. You marquee an area, you say, I want all of these frames to be like the pixels in all these distant, dark and highlights. Copy, and you can see it highlights them all. And then you go and paste them, paste, and you end up with just the highlights. Or has it done the layers? It completely bamboozles me every time. I don't want the layers select, I just want the pixels off the layers. Anyway, flatten them. That's basically more trees to fill in some of these gaps. Just to give us some stuff in the background. Some darker ones behind that. That's going to be a fence there, so that little brown fence is there. So I'm going to fill that in a second. So if I turn the city, the sky, don't know what that dark nut is. Oh, I think it was just the flat layer behind everything. So that's fine. Put the city we want to move that down. Probably move the sky down a bit actually. I'm just trying to reuse things that I've already drawn, really. Doesn't make sense to redraw a load of stuff that I've already drawn. Selecting bits of the city to sit there. This is the beauty of once you've had a game being made for months, you've got lots of assets that you can reuse, speed things up. So yeah, that's getting to feel like that view, and tweak some darknesses and brightnesses and things like that, but it's getting there. So doors, let's so all this distant trees, let me flatten all of them. Trees. What you can't do in Airsprite, which you can do in Photoshop and things like that, is put things in a folder and then apply a colour adjustment to that folder, and it would do every layer. It doesn't have that functionality yet, I guess. So I'm just going to get these out of there, delete some of these other things. I've got these two versions of the city. Let's flatten them. Sky. So what is that sky? Oh, it's like a mist that I put over the top of it, so it isn't really sky, that's mist. And that's sky. Okay, so I can tweak those layers separately, the balance of their colour and things like that. Don't need that background anymore. Car parks at the front here. I just kept that separate for the time being. And then this one that's called lined is just where I lined out all of this originally. So if anybody else is working on their own games and is watching this video at some point, then let us know. Stick in the comments like what are you working on? How far through are you? Stick a link to your own YouTube channel on there. Be good to see what everyone else is working on, really. Right, for the time being, I'm just going to make these windows solid, kind of light blue. Maybe I'll do it that one. I'll just have a think about what I might do with them. I might even do window vinyls on them, like specific to the ending that you've got. But I'll need to have a think about that. It's just the roller shutter. Going to be darker. So we're getting there. The general feel of it looking like this. It's the texture of the brickwork and things like that that are going to really help sell it. I did think about doing this at a slightly different resolution, but I think it'd be nice to keep it like this. I mean, I've already started thinking about like the detail on like these bits. Is this car park? Oh, it's on there. I should cut them off actually. Yeah, let me just, before I forget, get those assets, cut them from that layer and paste them on the car park layer. I didn't really want to do that actually. I like to try and keep some of the things on separate layers so that then it makes it much easier to put some texture on the car park. You'll see like car park actually was a different colour in here. It was that. So that, like all the speckles and things like that, and have the yellow lines separate. It just makes it much easier to separate them really. So, and to do things like that and just dot things around without having to avoid those yellow lines. When I bring the yellow lines back in, it'll all be behind it. Literally just clicking randomly down for these kind of bits. Same with the path. Selection there still. The dog piss that was in that corner as well. At the very first scene, a little dog comes up and wheezes against the side of the shop and it runs down in this drain. But I think that would be quite funny if at the very end of the game the dog comes walking past and just pees up the front of the door or something. Give myself more animation to do, but it would be kind of funny. Come full circle, and even though all of the events of the game have played out, local dogs still sit on the shop. Funny. Talking of local dogs, I can hear mine getting their leads on. They're not putting the leads on themselves. That would be incredible. They're being taken for their walk, I think. Right, so we're going to do this fence. Don't want it to be too detailed, but some kind of consistency of thickness. Thinking of the size of that from this distance, whether that's going to look a bit weird. Let's carry on, see how it looks. I need to obviously bring them right the way to the bottom, but I'm just eyeballing it, whether they're straight. They look to be. My perspective rule's gone off. And then just tidy up the tops of these, I think. Many people are into their football. I personally don't watch a lot of regular league football, but do enjoy a World Cup. So looking forward to a couple of the England matches that are coming up. It's one of the things about doing a live stream that gets recorded. A big part of this for me was that I've worked on quite a few like indie game projects of this type over the years, and never really kept a track of just how much time and effort went into it. So the kind of YouTube channel was originally just as much for me as anyone else to get enjoyment from, and like I really enjoy. I used to teach years ago, like computing. Really enjoy sharing skills with people and helping other people to make great stuff. But part of it was so that I had kind of a record of it. I always find that's quite interesting when you go back and watch a video of something that was from a very specific time, like you go back to COVID times, or you go back and there's a quiz show on British TV, like a kind of political news quiz called Have I Got News For You? And they always do reruns of it. And it's really telling of the time when you watch an old episode of that and everyone is completely kind of hooked on one particular bit of the news or political outrage of the time, which always seems completely insignificant when you look back at it a couple of years later, or the opposite, where it's like people are talking about this weird virus that has been heard of in China, and it's like, oh God, before it had landed on European shores. And you watch some of these things back. And equally, I'm sat here talking about the World Cup and seeing what might happen there. Do I follow any local football teams, Mike, on YouTube? I do. The place I live is Middlesbrough, so in the northeast of England. I'm not sure if you're even from England, Mike. I'm assuming with a name like Mike you probably are, but I might be totally wrong. And you might have already told me, so apologies. So I live in Middlesbrough, or just outside on the outskirts. And we have a football team who are sadly just missed out on getting up into the top divisions, but I don't really follow my local team because I am a Liverpool fan, and that is by birth and family, not a Glory supporter. So my granddad was a very famous Liverpool player. If you look up my surname, as you can see on the channel, Andy Liddell, he was called Billy Liddell and pronounced slightly differently, just because my parents changed the pronunciation because people spelt it wrong all the time. But yeah, Billy Liddell was a huge Liverpool player in the 1950s and 60s, and that meant that when I was a youngster growing up and was in Liverpool seeing my grandparents, we would go to matches at Anfield, and I was lucky enough to meet the players and followed Liverpool religiously as a youngster. But as I've got older and busier and my job got more and more time consuming and stressful, the previous job, I just got less and less time in my life for football, really. So didn't really just haven't really followed Liverpool as much as I used to. Watch the odd game, still got friends who are Liverpool fans, but yeah, I very rarely keep up with Liverpool. But the last time I saw a full game, I was actually at Liverpool. My brother still really does follow them, and he's got access to a season ticket that he shares with a couple of other fans. And because we're so far away from Liverpool, we get a coach down there or across there. But last match I watched, I was actually stood in the Kop, in the back row of the Kop, which was great. It was. I do enjoy watching football, but I've just fallen out of the favour. Things like this might take up loads of time, which is more enjoyable than watching football, watching other people play football. What about yourself, Mike? Do you follow football as well? And are you, in fact, British or are you from elsewhere? I'm gonna fill these in. Just trying to get that to kind of fall off into the background a bit. I'd usually make these things in separate layers, and I could just fade that bit out a little bit or darken it or lighten it, but kind of whacked it all on the same layer. But I kind of want to keep the colours roughly the same as they were for consistency. It's coming together all right though. Realised there was a lamppost there as well. For continuity, we should have a lamppost in there. Go behind all that. Lamppost. You would read the Geordie Times. Oh, right. So are you northern then? You're in the northeast of the UK. I still haven't decided on the name for that paper. I wrote that last night whilst I was watching the Brazil match. I was like, what am I going to call this newspaper? And I thought about naming it after a local newspaper. We've got one here called the Gazette, which is absolute garbage most of the time. And then where my wife's from in Cumbria, I have one called the Times and Star. I thought, shall I give it like a name that would be recognised by some of our friends and family, or shall I just make something up that's funny? And because the game's set it in Gateshead or Newcastle, then I thought, yeah, we'll go with the Geordie Times, because I guess players from other countries kind of aware of Geordies. It's certainly one of the more recognisable accents in the UK. Yeah, this is a typical example where that lamppost is just far too bright, so I'm glad I've done it on a separate layer, because I can just tone that back. But the more layers you have, the more time consuming it is making sure you're doing it on the right layer. You will have seen whenever I do any animation of these characters, so I'm always drawing it on the wrong layers. So edit, adjustments, brightness and contrast. We're just going to pull that lamppost back so it's darker, set it off into the background a bit more. You can change the contrast as well, but that looks fine. Right. Oh, that's weird. For some reason, it didn't fill all of that in. Try to work out if I did. No, I didn't put any. Sometimes I do like this kind of dithered thing just to give some texture to things. I've done it on certain scenes, sometimes in the sky, often on carpet, which obviously there's quite a lot of in this game, just to give it a bit of texture. I don't think I did it with the brickwork either, did I? No, there just isn't enough pixels around to do it really. Right, let's do the annoying bit, which is the mortar. Now again, if I'd have thought about it, I should have put all these windows and things separately, because the mortar is a pain to do. But what I could do, actually, let's use the magic wand tool and see how well it works. So let's just grab, has it got a tolerance setting? Tolerance to 20, let's see how good it is. Grab all of these bits. Can you do add? Add to selection. It's going to be a bit of a pain, but probably worthwhile in the long run. I'm going to cut these out, like everything off the building, so that I can just draw the mortar nice and easily in straight lines without having to delete it all. Lots of different ways of achieving the same thing, but having these separate might be useful anyway, because you can, having them separate, you can put outlines around them, easier to put the shadows behind them, things like that. So I'm just going to grab all of that. This light edge as well. You can see it's got down here, but that's fine. So all of them are selected. We're going to cut them off there. Call it Windows posters. Paste them back on. And then under there, we're going to do the mortar layer. It just makes it much easier to do these just in nice straight lines with the line tool, L for lines. And the colour doesn't really matter at the moment, it just needs to be a bright brown. I'll work out how far to pull them back again, because they're going to be separate. So just as a check for continuity and scale, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's kind of 7 things there. So around about that. And this is another reason why I wanted this like straight on. Actually, would this be easier to split it down the middle and do one? No, it wouldn't. So I'm just holding the shift key. Oh, that's weird. Oh, I didn't grab that. I missed one. So let's just grab, oops, no. Grab that poster, cut it out of there, paste it onto there. So, one of the reasons for doing this dead on front was just so that all these lines were nice and flat, like completely horizontal. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've not done that very well, have I? And you would see a little bit more of the last one anyway, because we're lower down. So 6 and a bit from this angle. There is like some kind of edge there. It's almost like I did a cornerstone when I did that. Fine. Let's just stick a... And I won't do the dark stuff there as well, because that might get confusing. I'll add that in afterwards. So with mortar, what I tend to do, choose the size of your brick. This one down here is a good starting point. So it's going to be like that. And then you go up and put one there. And these ones should all skip one, skip one, skip one, skip one, skip one. Same this side, so we'll start there. Skip one, skip one, skip one. Turn your brick size. They're massive actually, huge. I also realise sometimes I'm holding my breath when I draw. Do at the edge of it before. No, I didn't do like a cornerstone on that one. There you go, some poor consistency. Doesn't have to be exact, of course. Just sometimes it's more scale than anything when you've got brickwork. Whoops, pressed the wrong key. Yep. Too bright at the moment, obviously, but we'll sort that out in a minute. All right, I'm just looking at the bottom one, just seeing roughly the right size and everything. Looks all right to me. So I'm just going to take this mortar one, and you could just change the opacity down so that it's just slightly, and that's probably all it needs done actually. If you wanted them a bit thicker, there is a tool, I forgot what it's called now. Is it Sprite or Layer? Forgotten. FX outline. So you can see you can outline it with a colour. If you really wanted to, you could make that colour if you put it saturation, and then kind of put the darker areas in there. I think it's probably going to be too thick, to be honest, being three pixels thick. it starts to make it look like it's anti-aliased. So I think I'm just going to leave it like that. But because we're much closer up, I think what I might do is put a bit of texture on it as well. So I can do that in a variety of different ways. Create a new layer underneath the mortar. Brick texture. Good idea to name your layers. That's what my teacher used to say at university anyway. I call that solid areas. Fill in these holes. These were where it bled out before. I don't know why I deleted them. I should have just recoloured them. What I was doing there, but I was starting to get confused about what I could see through. Mortar, windows. So brick texture. Loads of different ways to do this. Never sure the best way. So there's this spray. Is it spray? What do they call it? Oh, actually, that might be the one that blurs things. What's it called, that tool? Jumble tool. That's the blur tool. Tells you down in the bottom corner. It's just off the stream, actually. But yeah, that jumble tool. I think what I normally did was I would fill first using a gradient, like a dithered gradient, one of these biomatrixes. Choose two colours, so one that's slightly lighter than the colour that you've got, and one that's slightly darker. Oh, you can use your right click to change your background colour. Slightly darker. That is not what I wanted to do. So that's the darker colour, that's the slightly lighter colour. So they're quite vivid. In fact, that's a bit too close, the lighter one, I think, to the mortar. Very hard to get something. Yeah, that's fine. So let's just delete all of that. So this solid area, if I colour pick that solid area so I can't go outside it, and then go to the brick texture layer, and then do a fill with the biomatrix thing. So you can see there it's going from a completely different colour. It wasn't the one I selected. There's that plus a little bit. So you could, first of all, you could bring it so that it's a little bit darker in the bottom corner, perhaps. Go the other way, darker over there. So we've got most of the light coming from that side. So even just stretching it out like that, that's going to give you some kind of texture to it. And then just fade it back. It doesn't have to be in regular blend mode either. So you could kind of, maybe not multiply, but like a soft light, and then pull it right the way back. So you've just got, you just see a hint of that dithering here, like a little bit of texture on the bricks. Less and less over there as the light gets darker. Try out some of the blend modes, like hard light's just a little bit more kind of burnt. It's a bit like a colour burn. Oh, colour burn there, look. So I've got a little bit of base texture to it. I'm going to create another one on top of it. I'm going to get something that's quite different. I'm sure there was a spray tool. I imagined it. No, there. Spray. So if you ramp up that dot size a little bit, so it's on a separate layer, you can then kind of spray some other more randomized kind of stains or texture blocks, I guess. And then go the other way, a bit darker. Oh, maybe not that dark. Again, just to mix up that a little bit. You don't want it to, well, I don't want it to start looking like not like pixel art. So you've got to be careful that you don't go overboard and end up with something looking too painterly. But I think that's nice. It's just, it means it's just not a block color. You can see pixels varying density around there. And we're still in the same kind of shade as this, so looks good to me. Gives it a little bit more. So I'll just call that brick muck. I'm trying to think what to call that. It's kind of fun doing this and trying to keep the secret of why I'm doing this shot at the end, because on the live stream I won't show the two different variants of this shot, but it's kind of fun doing this almost like a sneak peek of one of the final scenes of the game without actually spoiling the game. So these car park lines, we want to mucky them up a little bit as well. So let's just put a dark line under them. Just, I don't like a solid block colour of anything. I think it's better if like the world isn't pristine and clean. Oops. So just adding a bit of, I don't know about where you live, the yellow lines around here are usually in pieces. There'd be like a chunk missing out of it as well. Not a bad idea actually. Let's just break them up a bit. Take a couple of chunks out of it. Yeah, same with the white lines as well. Especially in a public car park for a carpet shop. It's going to be a bit messy in it. Oh, that's the same colour we've got there. Right. Clive's car's not there, and that's for two reasons. One, it'll be in the way of the posters. Two, it's really hard to draw from the angle with the forced perspective of being really low. So let's just not draw it, and it's still recognisable as the shop. He's maybe just parked somewhere else, although he is a creature of habit, so he would always park in the same parking spot. But who knows, by the end of the game, maybe he's a changed man and he wouldn't park his car there anymore. Well, we also want a couple of lines in the back lot, as they'd call it in America. In the back lot. The Dodge. No, see, look, they look rubbish because they've gone off at a quirky angle. Undo. worried about doing them completely flat, and that's just so bright back there as well. So let's just keep them flat. They need to be a touch lighter, but they were too bright as well. They're just kind of getting right in your eye. I usually have a kind of a vignette around it as well. That's how you pronounce it. Like lighting, put the lights in Unity and just give it a bit of a edge lighting. So that'll, some of the edge stuff kind of gets hidden by that. Right. So car park, that is the actual tarmac. So I've got the solid areas, it's this really. We want to just add a little bit more detail to that. Detail, he says, as he randomly clicks around it. Hello, good evening. How are you doing? You are always late for my stream. How dare you, Chris? That's fine. Are you in the UK, Chris? Again, I often hear people's British sounding names and perhaps wrongly assume that you're based in the UK. But yeah, we're on British summertime, and you'll obviously all know that if you live in the UK. I used to do these streams a bit later, so I used to do them at like 8 PM GMT. Of course, you're Sweden. Yeah, sorry, you have told me before. My apologies. So we have. I did actually start doing it an hour earlier, and it was so I got a little bit more of my Sunday night before going to bed. So I finished a little bit sooner. So I started doing them at 7 PM instead of 8 PM. But then we went into British summertime as well, so I lost another hour. And then I did wonder actually whether I'd communicated that particularly well on YouTube or not, because yeah, it might be 2 hours further back than it was before now. But yeah, I started an hour ago, Chris. I'm not quite sure what time it is in Sweden at the moment. I'm guessing 7 PM, 9 PM. I shouldn't guess, really. Yeah, let us know what time it is. Yeah, what time is it, Chris? And then I can work out. 2100 now, yeah. So you're an hour ahead of us. So yeah, it is 8 o'clock here at the moment. But that is our British summertime. I mean, it's still sunny. I've never done this on a stream before. There we go. Now if I stand up, actually I'm wearing shorts. This would be bad. It is still gloriously sunny outside in the UK, because we are now getting to the point in our British summertime where it's light here until about 10, 10:30 now, which is lovely. So you can walk the dogs on an evening and it's sunny and bright. And it also means you can get out late mountain biking, which is lovely. I've been out today. I've done about 15 miles on the bike today on the North Yorkshire moors. Same in Sweden, yeah. And I never really know why British summertime. I think it existed for farmers originally. I'm sure this was the reason for the clocks going back and forward, was to give more light in the mornings so that it was easier to get the crops out or something or other. I think that's where it originates from. Might be completely misremembering that fact, but so I'm just going to stick in some shadows now. This. Oh yes, did I talk about it before? I do have a tendency to repeat myself. Yeah. So I'm just going to block in a variety of just chunky shadows for now. We'll pair them back with opacity in a bit. It's the edge. You're right. You're right. And at the moment, just so much going on. New job and everything. That is lots on the mind, but seems to be great. Been enjoying it so far. Right, so if the sun's coming from that side, we're going to make this a bit, because this bit sticks right out. So just look at the top of that. I think, yeah, I put like a shadow under it there, but we're much lower down, so would it come in that way if it was going? No, it wouldn't, would it? It would come flat across there. Oh, sorry. Yes, I can switch back to screen view. Yeah, what you don't want to see is an old guy who can't remember what he's talked about. Just the top of his balding head as he's leant down. So what I was saying is, yes, starting the shadows, just blocking in. Thank you, Mike, for reminding me to flick back to my other screen. Yeah, I'm just whizzing around these with easy blocks for now, down the side of the fence there and underneath here. So it's just slightly off black. Going to fade them all back in a bit. I'm probably going to plonk a massive... So I've not really been worrying too much about the shadow here, but it can sometimes really help sell the 3D. If you think about the shadow coming across there, so the sun's behind it, hits it kind of like it is here, across here, down the curb, across the thing. So like that kind of thing. And then all of this would be in shadow effectively. But I don't really want to darken out the front of the shop anymore, so I'm just going to do it along the car park a bit, just making sure it doesn't bleed out anywhere else. Oh, it's also revealed some other weirdnesses. I put them on the wrong layer, didn't I? Oh no, they bled out when I used the magic wand tool to correct my mistake earlier on. Just conscious of the time, because what I might do is switch over to Unity and have a little go at this newspaper thing that I mentioned at the start as well, just to switch up the stream content a bit. Told you meant to do that kind of thing. Don't stick on one task all the time. So I'll just fade that back. And then immediately, yeah, if you look here, that's just using opacity. Looks kind of nice like that. Just giving you a bit more depth, but you could try soft light and then it's going to interact with the colours differently. You can see the colour goes kind of orange here because it was a slightly brown shadow, so it's not just then black opacity, it's actually affecting the colours in that soft light mode as well. Use that quite a lot in this game. So that looks kind of nice like that. That is at least a decent start. I think the only other thing I want to do, because it's a pain in the arse, is get the stripes on the top of here. So let's do that. Going to be beneath the shadows. Going to lock the shadows for now. Lock the windows. I don't actually get them. Top lines. Let's just get these in. I think I came up with a way of speeding it up when I was doing Funky Monkeys, but of course I've got this slight perspective on purpose. I didn't want to just do a rectangle for the shop. I kind of wanted it kind of like you're looking up at it a little bit. Yeah, I just suddenly thought, does it look all right? Now I started adding loads of colour to it. Yeah, it does. It does. It's kind of what I wanted. I wanted this last view of the shop. Probably hear the dogs barking in the background. What I did with these lines, I seem to remember, is not going to work here. So with Funky Monkeys, I did this in like flat lines like this, where there was no perspective. We can just copy and paste them across, but yeah, I'm not going to be able to do that here because they converge at the door as straight, so I'm just going to hand draw them. Good evening. Yeah, I'm going to read your name out. Auntie Wanty Sniff Your Panty. Nice name on Twitch. What we're drawing, we are drawing some background art for point and click adventure game, which I am making, which you can wishlist now on Steam. Here comes the advert. So it's this game called Under the Carpet. It is a point and click adventure game that I have been making on this channel for 9 months from scratch. So we started 9 months ago with a pencil sketch, and we are now wishlistable on Steam. We've got the trailer out. We've got 9 months worth of work into it. So yeah, this live stream happens once a week, where I crack on with either pixel art or Unity coding or sound design, music, bits and pieces, just everything that needs to be done. So tonight I'm just drawing the front view of this of the shop that it's set in. It's a epic tale of a northeast carpet shop near Newcastle and the weird goings on that are happening in the flooring trade. So it's a very silly game, as most of these types of games are. But welcome along. Thanks for joining. If this is your kind of thing, or you're just into game development generally, then drop us a like or a follow or whatever they call it on Twitch, because I'm not often on Twitch. But yeah, there's generally tips, tricks, advice, some of it bad, some of it hopefully useful. If you're setting about making your own game, because I've made a few, it takes a while and there's some things to do and things not to do I've learnt over the years. The main not to do is make a massive game, make a small game, make a game that is manageable for the time that you have to work on it. I bang on about this almost every stream, but it is the best advice I think anyone could give you. Realistic goals and a scope you can do. This is going to go weird, these lines, I can see it already. That's all right. To be honest, there's going to be, see this floor for you sign, there's going to be a sign in front of it anyway, so I'm not too worried about this area by the door, just so long as they look roughly the same length. And yeah, all the graphics are hand drawn. I have been looking actually at an asset on the Unity asset store that I might use for some of these finale shots. In particular, the one that I teased at the start of this stream, where there's like some grand chairs around a table in a weird place. For that, things are going to fade in, and I found this like plugin, if you like, that does like nice dissolve fades, and I might use that because it's just the finale. It's not in the gameplay because it's not technically pixel art, but I guess what I'm trying to do is fade in like different things depending on the choices you've made in the game. So it's possible that it's almost like something manifesting, a bit like in Back to the Future, I guess, where he changes something and then looks at the photographs and people fade in, like that kind of thing. I've been looking at an asset that I think it was only £9, something like that, that would give me like a nice effect like that. So what I'm going to do, these top lines here, I'm going to duplicate that. Lines light. I think this was what I did last time, and then just nudged them all to the left. Whoops, not like that, I didn't. Lines light, turn off auto select layer. Nudge it left, so they're like double thick, and then just do a color swap. Go replace color that with that, and then I can fade these back just to give the where the light's catching that, and then the shadows next to it. So that's that kind of fluting along the top, the highfalutin fluting. So that's coming together quite nicely, given that didn't really have anything apart from the outline at the start of this stream. So still quite a bit to do on that, and obviously the variants and like looking into the shop. So there'll be different variants of this depending on how what you chose to do in the game. There probably should be a shadow over there as well, but I can't think. The shadow wouldn't hit anything apart from the lamp post, would it? You wouldn't see it against the trees. It's not like a shadow, it's like a blanket. So let's just go to the lamp post and stick in actually, it's kind of off in the distance anyway. It'll just help sell the idea of some shading there. So let's just pull that down. Pull that down. Oops, I'm not even in the right drawing mode. There we go. All these changes in tone and light and things are just helpful for, yeah, so it just looks like the sun might be coming over the top of it. Darker bit of lamppost at the bottom. Right, I'm going to save that. As I mentioned earlier on, the Geordie Times, which me and Mike were musing about earlier. This is one of those things that you get in like Batman and Superman, where kind of this is at the end of the game, like depending on what you've done, the kind of headline, the newspaper spins round and lands. So that is something I drew last night whilst I was watching World Cup football in the living room. Quite late last night, I was watching the Scotland game, and I've got that set up ready. It's gonna, excuse me, I was up late. I was just thinking as I was watching the Scotland game last night, I ended up falling asleep. Thinking, I probably should be more tired today, and I've been out on my bike. I am actually quite tired. Just seeing this newspaper has made me tired again. But yeah, it's ready to go with alternate headlines and ready for different pictures again based on the ending of the game. But I kind of want it to spin and appear like into the scene or like out from the scene. So I need to do that. I think I'll maybe spend the last half an hour doing that instead and have a break from this. Whoops, front shop scene. Nearly smashed my glass. So yeah, let's leave that as it is. We'll close that down. We've got that newspaper ready in Unity. Oh, I've got my messy desktop shown. Oh, and all of me. I didn't prepare this stream very well, did I? So the Unity scene. Let's have a look. So this is the finale scene that is going to launch a variety of different endings. I'm not going to run that now because that might throw up a massive spoiler. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new on start. So let's just call this newspaper spin. And just have that as the on start for this scene. So save that. It shouldn't do anything at the start, hopefully. If it suddenly throws up a massive spoiler, then apologies. No, it doesn't. Grand. So we've just got a grey screen to start. I've already got the assets ready, I think. So newspaper A and newspaper B. No spoilers, they both say headline goes here. So these are, they want importing with the usual settings, so it's single art preset. Just apply that. Should have done both these at the same time. Single preset, apply. So we've got these two sprites. I don't know how I'm going to do this actually. I don't often do like timeline animation in Unity. Not like Unity timeline, but like using this animator or the animation window. Obviously all of the sprites that you've seen, like all the animations, are hand drawn for the game in a sprite and brought in as effectively flip books, if you want to call them that. So they're sprite sheets that it flicks between, whereas with this one I want to do like a smooth spin of it onto the screen, so I'm going to use the animation engine in Unity, which I don't often use, and I'm probably going to have forgotten how to do it. So this needs to just be dropped onto the scene. We'll stick that on there and just check the scaling of this, because it's on there at 1:1 scale, so yeah, looks fine. So if I scale this up, you'll still get your nice pixels, and you can see that that light is the scene light. That's because this scene's being used for something else. Actually, let me yeah, these lights are going to be a bit of a pain, so let me create a new scene actually. Save as oh, I just got a disconnection warning. Got a feeling the stream has just gone. Oh, it might have come back. Might have come back. OBS just threw a little wobbler for some reason. Not sure why, but it looks like it's restreaming again. No idea what happened, but it seems to be working, I think. So yeah, this is now a separate scene where I can just do the newspaper work that I need to do. This is the light that I usually light the scene with. So the newspaper is kind of beyond the edges of the light. Yeah, it just cut out for a couple of seconds, and my PC just came up with an OBS warning, and then I realised it had paused on the live stream, but it's back. So the what's called the shop light, because it's used in loads of scenes, this is just a Unity pixel light. So depending on what I end up doing with the way that this spin works, it might be nice to have it kind of like a bit of a spotlight. In fact, rather than using that type of light 2D, let's just create a new empty game object and call it spotlight. I think there is actually a light 2D. Yeah, there's a standard spot. So let's hide shop light. Actually, no. Let's just take the intensity of the shop light down, because this is my general colour for the game as well. I use that to kind of, there's a slight yellow colouring to everything. It just makes it all feel a little bit warmer. But this spotlight is now like a separate spotlight. You can see, make it red, make it really intense, and then you've got fall off strength and everything else there. Oh, it's just outside my stream window there. Apologies, bring that back. So this light 2D here, you can change the kind of inner and outer the fall off strength, the radius, outer radius. So you can set it up like a proper pixel light, basically. just make this all feel a little bit like nicer lit. The intensity down a bit because I don't want that kind of blowout in the middle where it goes bright white, but then that kind of makes it feel a little bit more 3D as well. So if I just click play just to see how it sits on the screen. Yeah, I think we're going to want a black background for the whole thing. Just go to cameras and the main camera. Background's grey, so just pull that down to black. Strange. The way that the camera is working, this is Adventure Creator for Unity, so a plugin. They pull from this main camera and then kind of put all of the settings from this main camera onto the camera that you want to use. So it's actually this one that ends up getting used. But I'm not sure why I still get a grey background here, because you'd expect that to go black in the game view. Or maybe it just doesn't show it in the scene view. Anyway, let's go back and just undo that. Don't want to mess with that camera really. But yeah, in the game view, it's going to be black. The other thing with the lights is it's a light 2D. So there's a couple of things here. This spotlight is a light 2D. If I go to 3D mode, because of course Unity is a 3D engine, the light exists on the same plane as everything else. So it's not like putting a 3D light in the scene. But for this particular shot, what I might want to do, this light doesn't have a fall off in distance, like in that blue axis. So what I might want to do is actually create a light, I'm stumbling for the words, like a real-time light, and actually have the newspaper spin close to it, because that would give you the feeling like it's coming out the dark. And I know it isn't always like that on like Batman and Superman and things like that, where the newspaper spins round. But it might look all right. So I'll have a think about that. These little tools that are on here as well let you change the lighting. But I want to get it animated and spinning. And I'm going to group these because these sprites are coming from a sprite. And as I've said quite a few times, there's going to be variants depending on the ending. So I'm going to reset all of its scaling to 1. I'm going to drag newspaper B on there as well. The other way. Reset that one scaling. So they're both 1:1 scaling. Create a new empty parent for these. I'll just call it news. Drop them both inside there. Drop that inside my set geometry. Set geometries, like, I use it for scaling all of the pixel art. If you go right the way back to LiveStream 2 or 3, I think I came up with the arbitrary number that it needed to be. So you can see these are both jumped to 3.4, but this is the thing that I want to do all the animation on this news parent. And that's so that I can show or hide the correct newspaper for whichever ending you've got to. And then it's just literally one action within Adventure Creator, which is if they made this choice, then show that. If not, then show that one. But this news thing is going to have all of the rotation applied to it. So I'm just thinking ahead there as to how that's going to look. The other thing I could do is fake this 3D-ness, so the light, I could animate the light so the light gets brighter as it gets closer. So we'll have a little go of both of those things. So news, that is, kind of want to get it to roughly where it's going to be, like center screen, like that. So it's going to end up at about that size. So if we go to animation, this is from memory, as I said at the start of this section. Been a while since I've done this, so bear with me. So anything that you select here, you can create an animation by clicking on that. It's going to be an animation clip, so I'm going to pop it in my folder there and just call it newspaper spin, because I'll remember that. Save. So then you get a timeline to animate it on, and if you click add property, you can then add any property of it. So I don't want to animate its children at all. I'm going to end up animating the rotation and the scale of this news item. So I'll click plus on rotation, add another one, plus on scale. There's lots of different ways to do this, by the way, but I suppose talking you through what's actually happening, it is then going to start capturing like changes in the rotation and scale. This is the timeline. That's kind of 1 second, 2 seconds. You can zoom right the way out. This is where I kind of want it to end up. And if you think about one of those spins, it kind of goes. It's like. So it's kind of probably 2 seconds or something like that. It's not a lot of time. So this position that it's at, I'm going to drag out to 2 seconds. And the start one, you can do this a variety of different ways. But if you click on the little record dot, everything goes red, and the things that you have already said you're going to be capturing, like rotation and scale, they all go red to tell you now that if you move something here, it's going to record these new keyframes for these things. So if I am in scale mode at the moment, if I scale that down so it's tiny, then that is kind of recorded. If I take it out of record mode and drag the playhead, and it does just play up to that 2 second bit. So I obviously want it to spin as well. So we want it to land like that, dead center. I mean, we might not want it to be dead center, but we can sort that out. I think this will go to the next keyframe. So that jumps to that one, that jumps to that. So you know you're on exactly the right frame. Like if I put a little bit of rotation, like you want it to be like that on screen at the end, because I've not put any rotation keyframes, I haven't hit record, it doesn't keep those things. So if I hit record, stick a little rotation on it, drag this back to there, see there's a little rotation there, but what I want to do, just zooming in, I want this to spin a few times. So if I like spin it round, you can see the number here, like 360. Does it go, let you go? Yeah, 420. So yeah, it's remembering. So I'm just looking at it like 600. So like 2 full rotations, like 720. If I start it off at like 720, thereabouts. And in that 2 seconds, just take record off, it's going to do 2 whole rotations. But what you'll notice is that's not too bad actually. If I click play, it'll do it at the actual full frame rate. Now, I forgot to change it actually. It's on 60 frames a second there. It's 2 seconds long. So that kind of looks all right, but there's a couple of things that I'm not keen on. One, there's nothing else in the game that runs at 60 frames a second. And this isn't really, I guess, a performance issue. This is a tiny sprite. It's probably about like 2 kilobytes or something like that. What, like the feel of the game, it's all in 12 or 6s. So if I run that 12, what it's done is extended those frames right up to 10 seconds. So if I stop that, grab all of those keyframes and bring them back to around about 2 seconds, it will do it in 2 seconds, but it'll be a little bit more janky, I suppose, because it's doing less frames per second, be more in keeping with the rest of the game. So there's like bigger jumps between them, which feels more like the pixel art animation. The other thing I want it to ease out. So when it lands here, you can see there is a little bit of easing already. There is, and I forget how you get to it. Oh, there, curves view, which is unhelpful. Because it's so small. So there is like animation curves showing you how quickly that property, in this case the Z rotation, is changing. So you can smooth off those curves. I've just got a splinter off my desk. That's happened. It's like a finished desk. But yeah, just by changing some of these handles, you'll get like a completely different fade, I guess, in the animation. I think like it's keyframing between different frames, and it's giving you a completely different feel to it. What you can do, because it's got some presets, I'm pretty sure. So you can see that the left tangent of that. Actually, if you just go free smooth, I've not used this for so long, and I'm very used to using like After Effects. I did that live stream a couple of weeks ago where I talked about the trailer, which was done in After Effects or Premiere. If you put free smooth, I think that might just smooth off the, yeah, so it slows down a bit as it comes in. Right, I mean, that looks all right. So it's going to play that. When we get to here, we're going to want it to stay there for a couple of seconds, and then probably fade out. And we can do that in loads of different ways. We could either make another animation clip called newspaper still, or we could just have this as non-looping and then let it sit there. What I assume it's going to have done is on this news thing, it's going to have created an animator controller as well automatically. So animation is where the actual keyframes are. Animator is what they used to call an animator controller. So when this object in Unity starts, it immediately runs this animation clip called newspaper spin. And that newspaper spin animation, you'll see, has got loop time clicked. So if I unclick that, what will happen when I click play is it will just play it once and then stop. There you go. And you can see it's played and just stops where it was. If we want it to maybe pause a bit before it sets off, you could do that with script, with the action script. So what we could do instead is this newspaper spin clip. We could duplicate it and just call it newspaper like waiting, if you like. Go into that newspaper waiting, delete those back frames so that it is just the first frame where it's already small and in the distance. Drag that into there, and then make that the default layer state. So it's not going to start spinning, you'll just see it waiting in the background. So it's just sat waiting, and then we can trigger it to start spinning. So that's kind of what we're going to do, because then we're in control of when we want it to come spinning on the screen. So in this newspaper spin action, we're going to, I'll just make it smaller so you can see it. this waiting, I'm going to rename these because it's just easier if they've got smaller names. So we'll just call that, we know it's for the newspaper, we'll call it wait, and we'll call that one spin, because we're going to reference them here. And basically we're going to wait for 2 seconds, and then we're going to do an object, because this is just an object in the list. We're going to do animate. We can do mechanim or legacy, but play custom. This is a mechanim controller. I think it's a mechanim controller. Either would work, but I'll put it as that. So the animator, if we click that, the only object in the scene with an animator controller on it is the one called news. So select news, and the clip name you want to play is just the name of this clip. So we want to play spin, and it's got to be spelled exactly the same. Caps is important, and then we'll wait until that finishes, and then we can do something else after here. But it's going to wait for 2 seconds basically, and then it's going to start spinning. It might be slightly less than 2 seconds because it takes a while to trigger up. There you go. So we're at least controlling that well. The other thing we wanted to do really was start with it quite dark, so that it appears like it's coming out of the dark. So, say lots of ways to do that. We could have set it up in a 3D scene. All I'm animating there is the scale of that sprite and the rotation. What I'm not animating is its distance from the camera. So if the camera's here, it's not starting off here and coming closer to the camera. It's actually exactly in the same place as the camera, spinning and scaling. So the idea of putting a 3D light that it's coming closer to would be one way of achieving it. But nothing in the game is running in a 3D plane, and one, that's because there's no need to in this type of point and click like 2D pixel art stuff. The other reason is performance. Like real-time 3D lights, I think, are less performant than these 2D ones. That means it can run on a much simpler, I mean, I would be surprised if this didn't run on a really old laptop, to be honest. Once the game's complete, it's not going to have a massive system requirement. I think Unity is a bit of a beast and a bit of a hog for that kind of thing, but I've kind of looked at the minimum recommended requirements for like similar point and click games made in Unity with Adventure Creator, and they're all fairly low. So we don't want to be doing anything too jazzy that's going to suddenly cause that to be a problem. So what I'm going to do is take the spotlight, so the shop light, if I turn that off and it's just the spotlight, the fall off of this is just 2-dimensional. I mentioned that earlier on, but the intensity, if I turn that, wrong one, if I turn the spotlight intensity down, it will go entirely black. So what will happen on that black background is it will effectively look like it's coming out of the murk. So we'll give you that effect that it's getting closer to a light source that is at the camera, as long as we don't go too far with that. So we're going to do the same thing with this spotlight. We're going to animate it, and we know that it takes 2 seconds for it to get to the camera, or what looks like the camera. So we're just going to do exactly the same thing. We're going to take this spotlight, we're going to go to animation, we're going to create a new anim clip, and we'll call it newspaper light. Save. So the thing we're going to animate in this case is any of these properties can be animated. I'm going to leave this at 60 actually, because I'm worried if it's changing in little increments, it'll look a bit like it's flashing. So nice high frame rate for this one. We're going to add a property, and all the properties of that light 2D that are up here are animatable. All we're going to do, I think, is intensity, maybe radius as well, but we probably only need to do intensity for now. Chris on YouTube, the game you're working on is almost 60 gigabytes in size. Wow. Is that like the build of it? I can see your monkey emoji. Is that the build? Because that's, yeah, that's a whopper. I don't know what the build size of this is. I've maybe got a build somewhere. Hang on. It used to be called Remnant World. Version 3.6. This is build. Yeah, that's 194 megabytes is my current build size. And actually, when you look at that, I mean, most of it are Unity files. If I go to the assets, so sound effects, sprites, music, yeah, so there's quite a lot of sprites in it now, but yeah, I've purposely kept it very small. But yeah, yours is a first-person horror game in Unreal. Yeah, Unreal's like a beast for it as well. It creates some big files. So you modeling all the environments then, first person, or are you using like asset store assets from Epic Store? Because that's a hell of an undertaking, that first person. Both. All right. Well, yeah. I mean, anything that can help with asset creation. Yeah, just a huge undertaking. Like, depends how big it is, I suppose. I've used, I've mentioned this quite a bit, the Cinti assets. They're a very particular style, probably not, so they have got a great horror pack, but it's like low poly style. I really like that style of stuff. But yeah, I guess the Epic Store, is it called the Epic Store now, when you launch Unreal? It's probably got some really good assets on it, actually. Right, let's get this animated because I'm coming towards the end. Yeah, low poly stuff. Have you seen Cinti? I assume you've seen the Cinti store. It's they're very Cinti Studios. Yeah, you've seen it. Yeah. I mean, their stuff's brilliant. It gets really expensive, but Humble Bundle have them regularly. They had one a couple of weeks ago, actually. I bought some. I've got so many of the packs. You'll recognise them from Polycity Stories, is entirely made of Cinti stuff. I've got a game on the Meta Quest store as well, called iFart, which is the interdimensional find and retrieve team that uses all Cinti assets as well. But yeah, really good. Quite expensive when they first come out, but you can get them in bundles, sometimes really cheap. I think like a 23 quid bundle I got the other day, which was like 500 quid's worth of Cinti assets through Humble Bundle. So yeah, look out for them. Right, spotlight. So intensity, that's how we want it to end up, the intensity. We know it's taking 2 seconds for the paper to get there. So the intensity at the start, I'm going to set it to absolute 0, so it's black while it's waiting, and then after like half a second, send me a screenshot on Discord. All right, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll have a look at that. Here, what I'm going to do, sorry, press record, take that down, so it's black, comes up to full brightness by there, but we want by here for it to be like semi-visible. So it starts off really dark, and then as it comes, it's too dark, isn't it? Gone too far there. So obviously you're not seeing the rotation at the same time as this, and I'm sure there's a way to do it. Oh, this was from November last year. Is this something you've completed then? A really old game you created in Unreal with Synty stuff. I'll have to have a look on Discord. I'll go and check it out. But yeah, if you've got a game that you released, that'd be cool to see. Right, I'm hoping that's worked. We have animated the newspaper light. I'm going to call it that so I know what it is. Newspaper light. Oh, it was created in Unity, was it? What type of game was that then? What was the general gist of that? More horror stuff. Is that your bag? Let's do the same thing here with newspaper light. Oh, like Polycity, right? Cool. I'll go and have a look. That will be good. Is it available anywhere then to play? If it is, send us the link on Discord and I'll have a play of that. Newspaper light. So newspaper light off. So doing the same thing here, just getting rid of the animation, making sure it's in a state where it's off. Going to the animator, putting the... Oh, no, I'm on the wrong animator there. What's going on? That one. So, light off. Light on. It's off. Oh, it's not available anymore. Was it itch or something then? Because I'm always intrigued, like other people who make indie games. I've only ever used itch, Steam for Polycity, and yeah, the Meta Store, but I don't know. I mean, generally, itch is really good for kind of homemade indie stuff. There's so many good things on there. There's like loads of hidden gems on there. But yeah, I'm always wondering where to keep some of these things that I end up making. So it enters in light off mode. The light on mode, we want to make sure it's not looping. Light off, doesn't want to loop either. And then in this first instance, we can run these two things at exactly the same time using a action list run in parallel. Run two things in parallel. Let's duplicate those. So that one and that one are going to run at the same time. This one's going to play at the newspaper light. We're going to run light on. Don't need two of them really. Delete. Itch and Alson had a couple of smaller web games on Crazy Games, nothing anymore. Trying to finish a real game for Steam. Yeah, how's it going? I mean, I know myself. You get weeks, months that you get more done than other weeks and months. But yeah, there's I imagine a lot to do in an Unreal first-person horror game. That is going to be a lot of work. Right, they should both be set up. Let's have a little look at it. I've just noticed the time, so I'm going to have to come to an end shortly. Right, so my thoughts on that are it gets bright too quickly. It maybe doesn't last long enough. Yes, crazy amount of work, as he said. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend this just simply by dragging the target one that it goes to, 3 seconds, and exactly the same with the newspaper spin. It's going to arrive after maybe 3.5 seconds. So the light will be fully bright by the time it gets to it. Around about there. Let's give that another go. So just tweaking the timings of these now that I've got them in place. So it's too bright, I think, by the time it's coming closer to you. So what I'm going to do is that intensity of light there, we're going to have that last much longer. So it's a really steep and sudden. So let's hit record. Let's bring that up a bit. So we're getting to see it a bit earlier. Right, let's have a look at that. Generally though, I'm quite happy with this, and then I can set up the actions to hide whichever newspaper based on the end user's decision. Yeah, that looks all right. And then what you could do at the end is just on that, as it kind of finishes, it could then go gudum, like a little boom to the screen, I think. Let's have a look, see what that looks like. So at the end of news, you get to there. We maybe just put a tiny bit more rotation on it. So it's rotating this way, just so it kind of settles. And then with the scale tool, I'm going to copy that scale key. It's just going to sit for a few seconds. So it's 12 frames a second, so here. And then suddenly a little pop forwards. You can see we're hitting the edge of the light there. Little pop that I want there. So let's have a look at that. I think that's going to have to be it for this evening anyway. Let's have a look, see how that looks. Yeah, that's all right. I'll give that a tweak afterwards, but that's the kind of right idea for it. And then all I'll be doing is these will end up with something called remember visibility. Remember visibility. It'll start us off. This will be exactly the same. Remember visibility, it'll start us off. And then what I'll do in the newspaper spin action, take that weight off now, let's put it to 1. Before this starts, we'll just change the visibility of them based on like the decision. And I won't go diving into my variables because there'll be some spoilers there. So we'll basically be using the object visibility, grabbing newspaper A, and basically making the correct one visible. So if I duplicate that, there'll be a path which is making newspaper A visible, and there'll be one because they both start invisible, and then only once that's done will this go on and do the animation. So they'll both lead into here, and then we'll just do a variable check up here, which will be variable check. And yeah, there's all the variables here. So not going to put a spoiler in, but depending on your choice, if conditions met, then it shows that newspaper. If it isn't, then it shows that newspaper, and then it runs it. So that is, so I can show you. Let's just stick a local variable in here. create local variable. Let's do a pop-up. Let's just call it choice. Add a new value. So A or B. Just to demonstrate this at the end of the stream. So if we're checking a local variable called choice, it's equal to A, then you make newspaper A visible. If not, then it's newspaper B. You could use a pop-up, you could use a single variable, a string or anything, but obviously if you could have 6 or 7 different newspaper titles based on 6 or 7 things, and these could all be whatever you want. Pop-ups are kind of handy because if you wanted to, you could do a pop-up switch instead. So you could go down to choice and then it tells you what they are. So if they were really detailed choices, then it's really handy being able to see what they're all called here and then link out from them. I use the pop-ups quite a lot in here, pop-up variables. So that would do exactly the same thing basically. So we can try it out now. It's set to A, so we should see that A. Oh, they don't actually look any different, do they? I mean, we will be able to see, will we? So we'll only be seeing one of these. I suppose I should let me just prove this. Let's put a big A on there. So there's A, oops. Just export that. Export as newspaper A. Save. Yes. Export. So it's got a whopping great A on it now. You can't see it because they're at the same level, but well, I hope. Let's see if that works. We should see the A newspaper. There we go. That's the A newspaper. And then if we stop that and we got this local variable and we start it as B, then we should see the one without the letter A on it. And at least I've got all that set up ready for swapping out with the end graphics. There's the one without the A on it. So that is now set up to dynamically show the correct one based on, I'll swap that variable to the one in the actual game. I'll be doing exactly the same with the other things that you've seen me drawing this evening. So the exterior of the shop, there's 2 different versions depending on the thing. So I'll use exactly the same thing to swap them out. And then there's the one that I showed with the kind of the throne, the weird room. Again, there's going to be a variant of that that's got different things. But as I mentioned, I might, rather than just swapping out a static PNG or like a spinning PNG like that, I think I'm going to do it in 2 layers. And this asset store thing I've seen that like dissolves sprites, I might have them dissolve in like the Back to the Future kind of fading in thing, or kind of like teleporting in or something. But I'll see how it looks. If it's too jarring with the rest of the style of the game, then I won't bother with it. Right, I think that's going to be it. It is 9:15. Thank you for tuning in, those who've been on live tonight. I know not everybody chats, but certainly Mike, good evening to you. Thank you very much for popping along. Chris, or Bandbite Games. Anti-wanty sniff your panty from Twitch. No idea if you're still there on Twitch, but thanks for popping in. Yeah, if you haven't already commented on any of these, then please do. I'm more than happy to answer questions. If you've got your own projects and there's things you want to know how to do, then just ask. That applies to regulars, newbies, everybody else. And yeah, I should be back. Will I be back next Sunday? Yeah, I'll be back, I think, next Sunday. Might be Father's Day in the UK, but yeah, I'll find a way to get on. But yeah, getting close now. We're getting close to beta testing. If you're a regular who's been involved for quite a while, and you're interested in beta testing, give us a shout. And yeah, I've already had a couple of people ask about that. As soon as I've got a solid build that is working all the way through and all of these nice endings are in there, so it makes sense, I will be getting beta keys out to a couple of people to test for me, which I am extremely grateful for. Don't forget, if you've not already, I know the regulars have because they're all wonderful, please do wishlist the game on Steam. It does make a massive difference. It's under the carpet. You can see the name at the side there. I always point the wrong way. Subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. That would be fantastic. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a nice Sunday evening. Good luck at work if that's what you do during the week. And we'll see you again soon. Thank you very much. See you later.